Hey y'all, what's in the fire here? And today's video, we're talking about New Moon Day. New Moon Celebration Day. We're getting close. I can't sing, but I can give a video, hopefully a instructional video on how it is that we are to determine the new moon, predict the new moon, what it looks like, what will, what it means and all of that in this video. So this is a new moon prediction video. All right, so we over here at the screen. Let me go over there and get the other thing going to where I can see if you guys give any comments or anything. Hopefully everybody is having a joyous Chanukah. No matter how it's going, good, bad, or indifferent, it's important that you find joy in it. So that's why I say prayerfully you're having a joyous Hanukkah, even if it's not going as well as you think. Don't worry about it. As long as you're finding joy, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Get my old pooter here started. Got a brand new keyboard. Praise the Lord in heaven. Hallowed be his name, Yahweh I am Christian, for actually installing it for me. And you guys who made it possible for me to buy it in the first place. Actually got it going. Didn't have to get a new computer. Still got the old one going. But anyway, so everything looks good. We'll see if I got a enter button here. But first, we're going to go make sure we can see you guys in your comments. Yep, we are live. Verified we are live. Still mic check. 1 2 1 2. Mic check. Mic check. Alrighty, and looking here in the comment section already, we have Donzella Ross says, Grand Rising. Hope you're having a joyous celebration also. Love, family. Yep, joyous celebration. We're here in Chanukah, the Feast of Chanukah. It is an 8-day long celebration, but what we're learning here is that Chanukah itself is about initiation and revelation and dedication. Hanukkah, on the other hand, is about administration and containment and old prophecies and all of that kind of thing when you look at the words. But anyway, that's in a video to come. I don't want to disturb anybody's Chanukah celebration. So we'll wait till afterwards and we'll try to get it right next year. But in the meantime and in between time, if you want to know what I'm talking about, just go over and start studying the contextual. We've talked about that before, the contextual understandings of the words that are given as far as the Feast of Tabernacles is concerned, because it's supposed to be the same feast. And so for that, we can go to the Jeff Benner, we can go to the Hebrew side by side, and we can actually see the contextual Hebrew, and then we can start to break down those words. And there's a lot of surprises in there, guys. I am so surprised. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. But like I said, I'm gonna wait till after the feast days is over. Because we're not necessarily doing anything wrong, but we got a ways to go to get right. You know what I mean? And so we just need to stay on the path we're on. But anyway, that's what this feast is about. It is revelation, so we were expecting such things. Back in the days, we used to get dreams and such, but now we get revelations during the Feast of Hanukkah. That's what this is all about. This feast week is all about. There is a 8-day long window here, yes, but this joy is supposed to last for the rest of the year. But anyway, we'll get into that. In this video, we're talking about new moon days. Let's see who else we got down here before we get started. We got Levi Gershon. It says Grand Rising, all praises to the Most High. Now, it's great to have a Levi in this channel. The Lord sent us a Levi. We thank that. Because it's necessary to have a Levi in these type discussions when you're talking about new moons, feast days, when is this, when is that, especially now. So we're getting ready for the days of remembrance, the day of remembrance for wintertime, which of course would mean that the Sabbath day would change. So of course we have to have secondary verification. And praise the Lord, we have a Levi, and any of you other guys who happen to be Levi's down there by birthright or just by education or whatever, feel free to join me down here in the chat in this open roundtable discussion about New Moon Day, when it is, how we are to determine it. We may even touch on what it is we're supposed to do, but we'll leave that up to you. All right, so looks like we got about 12 people looking, 3 people liking. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we want to do is look over here at the position of the moon. That's where we'll start. If we were on our sick bed or waking up from a coma and we didn't know when the new moon days were, we didn't know the Sabbath days, what was going on. In order to determine where we're at, the first thing we would do is try to get a understanding of the position of the moon. We could go look at it, or like we're doing now, we can actually pull up a visual aid. And if we pull up a visual aid like we see here, we see that the moon is waning crescent at 0.1% illuminated. That means there's no way a human is going to be able to see it with the naked eye. It's waning, meaning that it's getting smaller. It's still getting smaller. And so if we were to fast forward in time, if I remember correctly, the exact time is 1:44 a.m. But if we were to fast forward in time, a few hours from now, we see that it turns to a new moon right there is 1:14 with the new moon. 0%. Well, I'd have to go to 1:44 to show you. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and go to 1:44. 1:44 a.m. For grins and giggles, let's just say 1:44. 00 or 44. We'll go with 00. Haha. 0.5% illuminated. Anyway, I did something wrong. Maybe it was 1:44 p.m. But anyway, so that's what the moon looks like now. It's still waning. Well, let me put it back to what it looks like now. Put it back at the exact moment. It's still waning crescent at 0.1% illuminated. So in a little time, it will turn 0. Now that's important because it is when the moon turns 0% is when we actually start blowing in the moon. We've talked about this for years now. But one of the revelations that we're having during this Feast of Initiation, Feast of Chanukah, is that there's a 14-hour window there. 14 hours and some minutes, maybe 14.4, 14.2 hours, where the moon is dark and it's making its transition into light. Now, it's important to understand this because we go through this on a daily basis too. Every morning, the pre-dawn light is the same as the 0% moon right before it appears, if that makes sense. But it's also the same as this 7.45 day period that we call Chanukah. This is the period of darkness right before the dawn of the year, which is the new moon after the December the 18th, after the sun enters the winter gates, with the winter portals, which is December the 18th. And then we have the new moon, which is the day of remembrance, which is what we're talking about in this video. Yeah, there's a lot going on, so I'm trying to talk real slow. Anyway, let's go to the comment section. We got Royal Prince of the Most High. Y'all said, Shalom, I'm a coaching family and inthefight family. Peace, love, and light. Appreciate you stopping by. Royal Prince of the Most High. Yeah. Appreciate all you guys stopping by, even the ones that's not chiming in. Want to say thank you again for all that you guys are doing in support of this channel, our feast day, our family, everything you guys are doing would not be possible without you guys. I mean, thank you. But anyway, in showing gratitude, we'll go ahead with this video. So we're looking here at today. This is 19 December 2025. We're here 10:18 a.m. here on the Hillbilly Homestead. You can see our coordinates there if you zoom in. That's actually where my sundial is located. So the way it works, now we have this 0% moon. Like I said, if we was to wake up from a coma, the first thing we would want to do is check to see the status of the moon, because the moon is the timekeeper. We don't worship the moon. The moon is not, it's just a rock up there floating around, but it's like the hands on the clock. You know, we don't worship that hand on the clock, do we? But when we want to know what time it is, that's the first thing we look at is the hands on the clock, right? Well, that's the moon. The sun, too. And all of those wandering stars are hands on the clock. There's a lot of hands on this clock. This is the celestial clock. We're trying to understand the first 4 or 5 of them. So when we do pop on here, if we just woke up from a coma, we're looking at this and we're like, oh, man, look, y'all. Look at what, first of all, we're after December the 18th. That tells us that the next new moon that we have will be the first day of wintertime. That's a really big deal. That's telling us that we're getting ready for the day of remembrance. A holy day on the feast calendar. That day that Moses was talking, Moses wrote about back there in Jubilees chapter 6, and what Noah was going through back there with the ark and the days of remembrance. This is the day of remembrance. This is the first day of the 10th month. It is also the dawn of the year. The dawn of the year. The turn of the year. The dawn, or not the turn of the year, but the dawn of the year. That's what Hanukkah is about. You know, it's about bringing the year in joyfully. Now, they do the same thing merrily. They have Christmas and bring the new year in with merriment and such, but they're a knockoff of what we're doing. They're trying to do what we're doing without including Yahweh and his feast days in it. But it's the same. That's why they have caroling, merriment. That's why they, have lights and all of that other artificial stuff, is that they try to mimic what we're doing in the spiritual, in the five-dimensional, on the five-dimensional side. That's important to understand. This feast doesn't have that much of a material element as we thought it did, based on the King James and what we read there. But anyway, so we're looking here, like I said, we just popped on this thing, and we already see that we're getting ready for a big day. So now, to understand this big day, we have to go over and look at the sun. And there's the sun, or this Dap Moon representation of the sun. I'm looking at an app called Dap Moon. If you want to, Daff Moon, DAFF Moon, I think it's called. I've given you guys several links to it. I'm not affiliated or whatever. Just good. Just looks good. You can see. But anyway, This is the sun. And the reason why we want to come over here to the sun is because we remember what Enoch said about the 30th day, which is key to the understanding, the 30th day. That's the most important part to our monthly calendar, even our quarterly calendar, is the 30th day because of how special that day is. The lunation, of course, is 29.4 days, 29.45 days on average. But when we read the book of Enoch, it talks about the 30th day. And you say, well, how is that possible that you have a 30th day when the lunation itself is 29.454 days? Well, the answer is that transition, that half hour or that half a day, those 12 hours, that 0.6 portion of a day is the crux to how the calendar works, because it is at that time that the moon will appear, when it will go through this dance that it goes through every month. And we're going to hopefully, prayerfully, explain it. And then it goes through this dance every month right before it appears. So, what does it say over there in the book of Enoch, chapter 72? The second law of the luminaries. I prayed about whether I should, only use this screen, and that's what I got. If we need to go over and jump on the script, I don't know, we may call an audible, but for my instruction, I'm basically supposed to talk through it. So, let's get to it. What it says is that on the evening prior to the 30th day, the sun and the moon will set together. On the morning of the 30th day, on the 30th morning, the moon will have separated from the sun. Let me go over here and show you what this here. Go back and look at the AM, 6 a.m. I think it's 6 a.m. Let's go back to the sun. See, the sun rises 6:43 a.m. We'll back up to the pre-dawn light, which would be 6:33. That's the time when you would start doing your prayers if you was here at the Hillbilly Homestead. But it's 30 minutes before sunrise wherever you're at. We'll come back to about 6:13. There. Now, that's today. And what you see is that the sun and the moon are about to rise together. If I was to step through the hours, you see them rising together. What Enoch says is on the 30th, on the 30th morning, there will be a separation in the two. Go back. And so we look at the next morning, you see now the sun is rising ahead of the moon. And if we go another morning, you see the distance increases. But on this day, the 30th day, you have the separation between the sun and the moon. That is what actually causes the new moon to appear. Because if we look at the sunset hour, which is about 4 p.m., you see the sun is about to set. And this is on the 20th. You see that separation there. And then you see when the sun sets, you see the moon is also set back. So on the 20th, based on what we're seeing here, this is not how to do it, but based on what we're seeing, we can already see that the moon is not going to be visible on tomorrow evening either, because of how close the sun and the moon are together. See, let's move that out of the way. See how close they are? And so when you're looking in the western sky at about 5 Oh, let's see what time moon set. The moon sets at 5:17. We're going to back up another 15 minutes because their moon set is actually halfway. I mean, the moon is already gone more than halfway. Damn. You could even see right here. I mean, I wish I could zoom in, but I can't. Okay. So he says that on the day, he said on the 30th day. So we'll see what time the moon is, or the sun is setting at 4:50. He said on the 30th evening, when the 30th day starts, or the day previous to that, the moon and the sun will set together. So if the sun is setting at 4:50, the moon setting at 4:20 is one option, and the moon setting at 5:17 on the next day is another option. Then he says on the 30th morning they will rise together. So the rise time is 7:28. I mean, the previous day, the rise time is 7:28. For the sun is 6:43. And so that means that on the 19th is the previous day. Today is the previous day when they're rising together. There is no separation. When you go back and you look at the sky this morning, you see that they're so close together that you're not going to be able to tell the difference. You see them almost touching. You're not going to be able to see them. Then he says, on that evening, you have a sunset of 4:49, moonset of 4:21. He says, then, am I gonna have to go get the book? I'm gonna have to go get the book. Let me see. Am I gonna show y'all the book? I'm gonna go get the book. All right, let's go in here where the library is. Try to do it from memory, but I don't usually do it from memory. I'm a textbook kind of person. I usually go right to the script every single time. Which one am I gonna get? Let's try this one. Let's try this one too. It's important to have multiple translations of the book. I guess I could have just pulled up the computer right there. Could have did that and check comments too. We got Elliot. Eli? Is it? Can't pronounce it. Anyway, he said hi. All right, let's go over here and let's look at Enoch. Well, I'm going to go over here and pull up the script. So you guys tell me, how is your Hanukkah or Chanukah going? Are you celebrating Hanukkah or are you celebrating Chanukah? You say, well, what's the difference? Well, are you concentrating on menorah lightings and candles and thinking about, past wars and stuff like that? Or are you having new revelations? Are you reading the third testament of the book of the Bible? Are you, having a lot of joy? That's the difference in Hanukkah and Chanukah. But anyway, we're over here. I'm in chapter 72 of the Orange Translation. It says, after this law, I beheld another law of an inferior luminary. the name of whom is which is the moon, and the orb of which is as the orb of heaven. So I'm going to read down through here. I'm just giving you a little background. Verse 2 says, its chariot which is secretly ascends, the wind blows. The light is given to it by measure. Okay, so now, of course, this is speaking fifth dimensionally. It describes the sun in the same way. If you really want to know what's going on, you'll try to understand it on this level. But verse 3 says, every month as it at its exit and entrance, it becomes changed, and its periods are as the periods of the sun. And when in like manner its light is to exist, its light is seventh portion of the light of the sun. So that's telling us that the moon, that's describing the moon itself, its period is like the sun. The period of the sun is about 30 days. If you were to look at sunspots traveling around the moon, you see that a day on the sun is about the same as that on the moon, about really close, like 29.4 days. But the thing about it, because we're in this circle and going around the moon, that half a day comes into play because of what we're looking at as far as the sun moon relationship. That extra half day comes into play. It really doesn't exist because the moon is the timekeeper, 29.4 days. But the thing is, because the sun is the measure of the day, we use the sun to measure the day length, not the moon to measure the day length. Then our days are 24 hours long. And if you count 24 hours times 30, you're going to end up with 30 days, period. And so we have 30 days, but the lunation is 29.4. They're both right. One is a sun month, one is a moon month, one is 30 days, one is 29.4 days. And that's what it means by the period is the same. If you was actually riding on the moon, or if you was riding on the sun, it would be perfectly the same. Both of them would be 29.4 days. But again, because we're all traveling through, through space, some don't want to believe that, but we're all traveling through space, there is this extra time delay. Just like if we was moving in a car or whatever, there's this extra time delay of a half a day that we recognize only because we're looking at the sun, not the moon. Anyway, the Father knew we was going to be doing that. And plus the sun does manage the days for us. It tells us when our day starts and when it ends. So he knew we would be doing that. And so anyway, he says, and in like manner, when light exists, is the seventh portion of the sun. Talking about is sevenfold. I didn't mean to go into this much detail, but I love the book of Enoch. It's sevenfold, which means that if you take the light of the moon and then multiply it by itself, and then multiply that by itself, and then multiply that by it, so you have 2, then 4, then 16, then whatever 16 times 16 is, and you keep going 7 times, then you'll be just as bright as the sun. Don't just say the sun is the moon is X illuminations, and if you put 7X, you're going to get as bright as the sun. No, that's not what he's saying. He's talking about magnitude, sevenfold magnitude. Anyway, then verse 4 says, thus it rises, and its commencement towards the east goes forth for 30 days. So here is these 30 days that we're talking about, the crux of this video. We're trying to explain these 30 days and what they actually mean here. He says, at that time it appears and becomes to you the beginning of the month. 30 days it is with the sun in the gate from which the sun goes forth. So when it appears is the beginning of the month. When it appears, it'll be on which day? Let's see. Around there, you'll start to see this sliver of the moon there. You see on the next day, it would get brighter and brighter and brighter. But back here on or about the 21st or the 22nd is the day that we should actually see the moon appear. Okay. And then at that point, we go back. Now, the only time to see this is right there at sunset or moonset. The moon sets at 7:16, The sun sets at 4:51, but at sunset at 4:51, the sun is still too bright to see the moon, so we have to go forward at least an hour. So that's, I mean, a half hour. So that's about 5:20. So let's set our clock to 5:20. Okay. Then we look at the moon on this evening. We see that it's 0%, a 0% new moon. And like we were saying, this 14-hour period starts then, whenever this 0% moon is, and then we start actually blowing in the moon. So in other words, by this evening, by sunset this evening, we should already be blowing our trumpets during our monthly elevation period, because it is when the moon is dark, that we need to do the elevation period, just like the time before dawn. Once dawn starts, it's over with. It is the pre-dawn time that we have to do our elevation. Well, that's similar to the lunar cycle. And like we said, Chanukah, we're right now in the pre-dawn period of the year, in the darkest part of the year. And, so that's why we're elevating our spirits and having joy and stuff on this yearly basis. And it's also on a monthly basis. And what I'm trying to say is that it starts with the 0% moon. Not necessarily once the moon appears, then the darkness is over. The light is here again. We can, all celebrate New Moon Day and, have joy. But it's that time, just like in the morning, we can get up and have a good, joyous day and enjoy our day. It is that time before the light that we have to elevate our spirit in order to catch the morning star. Make sense? But anyway, so that period will start about there. Okay. And when you see then, that's on the 19th. Then on the 20th, we see that the moon will only be 0.8% illuminated. Of course, that is a calculation, but it's still not going to be able to see a 0.8% illuminated moon. And then on the 21st, now is the first day is in question. Could we see it? And of course, we have to go out there to actually see if it does appear, if we're using the if we're going by that as a secondary method, secondary confirmation, and we have to. The first confirmation is the 30 days, and then we go out there when it appears as secondary confirmation and say, yep, there it is. Anyway, at that time it appears and becomes to you the beginning of the month. 30 days it is with the sun in a gate from which the sun rises. Okay, now look at this. We see down here at the bottom right of it's talking about the azimuth, 230 degrees, talks about the zodiac, and it talks about the distance. Well, you see on the 22nd, it changes from the, the goat to the water bearer. And that's one of the things it's talking about, is changing its gate position. The sun itself is in the goat position. The moon, as of December the 22nd, will be in the water bearer gate, and so that's what it means. They're separating now. The moon has been in the ram, or I'm sorry, the goat. The moon has been with the goat the entire time, and at least for 30 days or 29.4 days, and now it's about to make a transition out of the gate into the next gate. But if we look, the sun, anyway, never mind, we won't look. But okay. Then it says in verse 6, it says half of it is extended 7 portions, one half, the whole of its orb is void of light except the 7th portion of it. Okay. Again, talking about how bright it is. Let me read that verse again. Half of it is in extent 7 portions, one half, and the whole of its orb is void of light, except a 7th portion of the 14 portions of its light. And In a day, it receives a seventh portion, or half that portion of its light. Its light is by sevens, by one portion, and by the half portion of a portion. And by the half of a portion, it sets with the sun. Okay, now that's a lot to say about this. All it's saying is this. That verse right there, you see that? It's saying a seventh portion, because if we were to go through here, we'll find that these are seven portions until it's actually full, or actually 14. There's seven on one half and seven on the other half. And it's trying to explain that to us. I mean, I got it, but I mean, it's tricky to understand it. But really what it's talking about, first of all, the magnitude of the light, and then it's talking about how much light is actually seen there when you actually see it. And see, this disproves that whole thing about the full moon being the new moon, and you know, the new moon being a full moon, and that whole argument, because he's breaking it down in a seventh portion of the light. How can you look up at a full moon and see 1/7 portion of anything? I mean, it's as bright as it's going to get. But anyway, and then right here, and then it says at the very end, it slides this part in, and it says it sets with the sun. Okay. Now let's go on. This is verse 7. And when the sun rises, the moon rises with it, receiving a half portion of light. So now right there it's saying it sets with the sun. So let's go back and find out, when does the moon set with the sun? The sun sets at 4:50. The moon sets at 4:20 on today, and then tomorrow it'll set at 4:17. So there's a split there. Not every month is like this, where you have to, where the moon set time or the sun set time falls somewhere between the two. Again, the sun is setting at 4:50. 4:50 is the sunset, and then on today, the moon sets 30 minutes earlier today, and then on tomorrow, it will set 37 minutes later. And so we're right here in the middle. Okay. Then it says, and that's okay because it goes on to help us out. He says, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with it. So now we look at the rise time. We have the sun rise time at 6:44. And of course, that doesn't change by much each day. So, but the moon time does. On the 20th, it will rise at 8:14. That's about an hour and 30 minutes or so. But then on the 20th, and that's on the 20th, and then on the 19th, the time is an hour or 45 minutes apart on the 19th. Okay. So what that's telling us is that the 20th is the 30th day, if that makes sense. It's saying because the moon, because of that span, and then the rise time together, we know that the 20th is the 30th, or the day that we're talking about. It says, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with it, receiving a portion of its light. So then let's go to the 20th, and we're looking at PM. And so we're looking here on December the 20th at 5:29 a.m. The sun will rise at 6:43. So let's go at least an hour ahead. But we see that the moon, although it's waxing crescent, only has 0.2% of its light. So that's not a seventh portion of its light. And when we look at the PM, just for grins and giggles, try not to, we see that the moon is only 0.9% illuminated. Okay, now let's go. Verse 8 says, on the night when it commences, its period previous to the day of the month, the moon sets with the sun. So on the night that it commences, and remember up there, when it's at its commencement was when it appears. When it appears is the commencement. That's the beginning of the month. So it says on the night when it commences, its period previous to the day of the month, the moon sets with the sun. So that's this day. You have the set time at 5:17, and the set time of the sun is 4:50. And so that's as close as we're going to get here in this lunation. And so that's what it means by setting with the sun. And when we go over here and we look at the sky, we see how close they are. That's in the AM. Let's look at the PM. So when they set, they will look like that. And you see there's no way that we're going to really be able to see a difference in those two. They're too close together. But now on the next night, they'll be right there, where the sun would have already gone over the hill, over the horizon, and the moon will still be visible, still be above the horizon, which is necessary for it to be visible. And so it'll look like that, where you have that separation. And on that night, that's the evening of the 22nd. I'm sorry, the evening of the 21st. On the evening of the 21st, we'll have a moon that's 3.3% illuminated. The previous day, of course, it was 0.7. So it lets us know that that's the night we should be out there looking, December the 21st, for the appearance of the new moon. And that's what Enoch was saying, is on this day previous, the 20th, is when it says, on that night when it commences its period, previously the day of the month, the moon sets with the sun. So that's this day here when they're setting together. Verse 9 says, and on that night it is dark in its 14 portions, that is, in each half, but it rises on that day with 1/7 portion precisely. So you see here now, you got 7 portions on each half. Let me show you what I mean. That's 7 portions on one half. It took me 7 clicks to get there. So that's 7 portions on one half. But watch this. I go back the other way, and it should have took about 7 portions on that side too. So that's what it means by 1/7. And you put them together, there's 14 total. 7 on one side and 7 on the other side. I hope y'all getting something out of this. If you are, go ahead and hit the like button and stuff. Make sure you subscribe. Anyway, you can go over check out our clock at coachinthefight.shop too. And on that night, it is dark, and in its 14 portions, that is, in each half, but it rises on that day with 1/7 portion precisely. Okay, so let's go back to the day. Let's go back to the 21st that we was talking about. And you see right there, on that morning, it rises with 2.5%. If we go back to sunrise time, which is about 6:50, about 6:44, we say that there's 2% of the sun illuminated. Now, it's set up there a 7th portion. And some people, you have to understand that a 7th portion in this lunation is 2%. That's not always the same. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but it is a 7th portion. And what that's saying is if you go 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're going to end up with half the lunation, half the thing, half the moon filled in. During the remainder of its period, its light increases to 14 portions. Now, here's another verse that dispels those guys who are saying that the full moon is a new moon. They don't bother to come to this verse right here, this chapter here, chapter 72, because it's saying after the new moon, we go here to the new moon, which would be the 21st, go to the evening time, which is when you see it. And what is it? During the remainder of its period, its light increases to 14 portions. So from here on, it's going to keep increasing. Then where's the full moon? It's saying after it started, it increase until 14 portions when it's full, right there after 14. And if you look down at the bottom when it says the age of the moon, it says 14 days, 23 hours. Let me go back. Yeah, right there, 14 days. That's on January the 2nd. And you see that it's waxing gibbous at 99% illuminated. And so that dispels, all that, talk about the full moon as the new moon. But anyway, it also lets us know that we are expecting to see this new moon on the evening of the 21st. Let me go over to the comment section. I do got some fact checkers over there watching to make sure. Got Levi still up in there. We got Costin Za'a had a comment. We got Keith Fillinger says Shalom, everyone. All right, so we good then. I mean, everybody seems to be getting understanding. I don't see a whole lot of questions or anything, and I'm assuming, without a whole lot of pushback, unless that was Costanza, role, a whole lot of pushback. Everybody's getting an understanding of this. So on the 21st, let me check my calendar. Got a paper calendar here. It says we have a 0% moon on the 20th at 1:44 a.m. This means that we'll get to see it on the 21st and likely have new moon day on the 22nd. So we need to all be going out there again, because this regulates our Sabbath days. Our Sabbath days will change with this new moon, but it's very likely that we'll see it on the evening of the 21st. And if it were made out of cheese, it would look something like that, 30% illuminated. Right, and you have to go out right around sunset is at 6:50. Moon set is 6:50 moon. So right at about 6 o'clock, no later than 6 o'clock p.m. is when we'll be laying eyes on the moon there. And then that would make December the 22nd, new moon day. Of course, by then we done blowed our trumpets, we done elevated our spirit, and then we start having our new moon celebrations and all of that kind of stuff, getting ready for winter, the new season. Of course, the Sabbath days will change to Mondays look like. If the new moon is seen on Sunday night, then of course Sabbath days will also begin on that Sunday evening for the rest of winter time. All right, so hope you guys got something out of this video. If you didn't, you can continue the discussion. If you did have some more comments or anything, you can continue the discussion down in the other comment section, or you can send me an email or something like that to try to get further understanding. I mean, this is important to get your own understanding so that you don't have to rely on other people to tell you what time it is. And again, you can go over to coachinthefight.shop and get your own clock, whether it's a paper printout that you can print out yourself, or take it to Kinko's and have them print you out a big one to put on the wall, or you can order a mechanical clock, one that Chris and I can put together for you that would actually help you keep time. But anyway, you can see all that over at coachinthefight.shop. And go over there, check it out, and I'll see you over there. Love you guys. See you next video. Shalom.